If your business can't move without you, if it doesn't matter how good your product or your service is, doesn't matter how loyal your clients are, if it requires you to be able to move it forward, then you don't have a business, you've got a job. There's a name for this, it's called owner bottleneck. This is where everything relies on you to be able to be done. And if something happened to you, then the business would actually fall over. And this can be for a solopreneur, or it can be right through to businesses with 10, 20, even 100 people in it. It's all about having the right systems, and I'm going to show you over the next few minutes how to identify that you've got owner bottleneck, what you can do about it, and what it actually looks like when you get it right. Owner bottleneck is essentially where everything that happens in the business has to go through the founder. Whether that's a proposal that's going to go out to a new prospect or an existing client, whether it's dealing with a customer service issue, operations, anything that requires the owner to either sign off or approve or to be able to make a decision is a bottleneck within the business. More businesses fail from this than any other reason. There is, when you first start out, an advantage to doing all of this yourself. You're cheaper, for starters, than paying somebody else, but you're also more engaged, more focused. You probably are going to do it better than anyone else that you're going to delegate it to, just because you care that much, because it is your business, it's your baby. But the problem is it minimises the ability for a business to be able to scale. Your time has a ceiling. There's only a certain number of hours that you can achieve things in any given week. And so your ability to grow that business, to be able to focus on the kind of activities that are going to grow the business, are very limited. Your ability to sell that business, if that's potentially what you want to be able to do in the long run, is very limited. And actually, even your ability to be able to deliver on those things that initially you were really good at, but because you had that care as well as the capacity to be able to do it, it's just going to get worse. So these are the things that we're looking for when we're working with a business to be able to understand, is owner bottleneck an actual problem within this particular business? And here's the thing that most people miss, is that this isn't a character flaw. This is a systems problem. It's a structural problem. And structural problems have structural solutions. So how do you know that you've got owner bottleneck? Well, we look for 5 things within a business, clues that can tell you whether or not you've got owner bottleneck. And the first one is that if you take off 3 or 4 or more days, that things start to go sideways. Staff aren't quite sure what they should be doing. Customers might be contacting you and they're not getting a reply quick enough. Anything that is essentially causing the business to slip just because you've had a few days off. The second is that new clients buy because of you. And while that's flattering that people are buying you and what you're contributing to the business and to their business, that's not something that you can scale. So if you are the thing that they're buying, then you are the product, and that has a limited capacity to scale. The third is that you've got a really competent team, but they're still coming to you and asking questions or looking for sign-off in order to be able to move forward. I see this all the time with founders. If you've ever said yourself, oh my God, there's so many questions coming at me all of the time, maybe we need to turn the mirror and have a look at why that's happening. The fourth is that you're the best salesperson in the business. Initially, 100%, you need to be out there selling, but we want to get it to a point where we can productize the sale process. Systems will help us to be able to do this. If you're the only one closing deals in the business, how are you going to sell that business to somebody else? Or how are you going to be able to leave the business or to focus on another area of the business when it needs your attention? Something will suffer, and often it's the sales. And the fifth is that you're working way more hours than anyone else in the business. Again, so often I have founders come to me and say, Cam, I feel like I'm the only one that cares. This is a sign. It's a sign that you've got some owner bottleneck in there. So if 3 or more of these land for you, probably a pretty good sign that you've got owner bottleneck and that we need to deal with it. The fix to this isn't to hire more people, and it's definitely not to work harder. We need to redesign your business in a way that allows you to stop working in the business and to start working on the business. Here's some tips about how to do that. First, start with mapping every decision that you make in the business. Not because you're the smartest person in the room, but because you're just the only one that knows how to. This becomes your training manual. This is the gaps that we need to be able to fill in order to be able to train the people or the systems around us to be able to make these decisions for us. The second is that you need to start removing yourself from client relationships. This is the one that most founders struggle with the most. We feel a connection to that. But the thing is that if that connection is the thing that's keeping that relationship going, that's keeping the business going, then you're never going to be able to start working on the business because you're too entrenched in the business. Start introducing your staff more to your customers. How do you help to be able to build some of those relationships? Can we organise meetings where we come together? Can we go for a group lunch or something like that with a client to be able to start introducing our people? The third is to build a repeatable sales process. So this isn't something that relies on your charisma or your ability to be able to close deals. Start by mapping out the entire process. What's the value that you provide? Who's the ideal customer that you're trying to get in front of? How do we find those customers? And then map from there to be able to understand what does a discovery call look like? How do we share the value of what our product is? Map it out, give it a timeline, give it next steps for what needs to happen in order for us to be able to map that entire sequence and then start to optimize it. Start to delegate various parts, whether that's being delegated to AI or delegated to a person or an automation. We can start to understand what works well and what could work better. The fourth is to create a decision-making tree. This is essentially where we're able to define what are the decisions that need to be made, who can make those decisions, what are the parameters that they can have within that decision-making tree. This is a huge, very common mistake for founders is not having this written down. A lot of people feel like they've got one, but if it's not written down, then people will revert to, let me ask the boss. And the last tip for this is to measure output rather than activity. When we first start, especially when we first start hiring people or we bring in consultants or however we're managing our work team, we're looking at hours billed, we're looking at, if it's sales, maybe it's about the number of calls made, but who cares? Like, we want to be able to track the outcomes that are being achieved. And if we change our thinking and the way that we judge success for the people that are around us, then this is going to be what generates the solution, the outcome that we're trying to achieve. When you fix owner bottleneck, the pressure doesn't just come off all at once. It actually kind of starts to seep into your life and it feels amazing. You'll start to see things like your team closing a deal whilst you're away on holidays. You'll get more feedback from clients about how much they love working with your team. Your pipeline starts to have a rhythm. You don't have just one really big month in July and then a really terrible August and September and then a big October, where we'll start to see consistency in the way that we're generating revenue. You'll notice that you start to work on the things that are actually important to you, whether that's the strategy of the business or if it's growth, it's how you're able to focus on the activities that are going to be able to generate more growth within the business. You might even like to start working with some clients because you just really love that piece of work that you could be working on. But probably the biggest indicator that you've come out of Owner Bottleneck will be that one Monday morning you'll wake up and you will not dread the week that's ahead. You're not thinking about all of the things that you've got to do. You're coming at the week with a strategic mindset, with people who know what they're doing, with systems that work, with technology in the right place, with AI to be able to help you just continue to drive that business forward. It'll be fun, the way it was actually supposed to be when you first started the business. That's what any good systemized business feels like, and it's available to any founder who wants it. If what I've described in this video resonates at all with you, I've got a few ways that we can help you. The first is we've developed a quiz that's designed to help you get really clear in under 5 minutes what are the bottlenecks in your business and what are the opportunities that you've got in order to be able to grow. If that's not your style, then every month we run a free workshop. It's designed with real examples, real customers that we work with, to be able to understand how you can help identify those bottlenecks in your business and be able to move forward. And if that's not for you, then I also run a free one-on-one session with founders. It's 30 minutes. We have a look at what your business is. There's no obligation to do anything after that. We identify the bottlenecks, we see what the opportunities are, and if you wanted to hear more about what we do, we can talk about that after, but that's up to you. All right, I hope you get some value out of that.